What was supposed to be a happy day for a mother-to-be seeing her baby on a sonar for the first time turned into a tragedy just hours later when she mysteriously disappeared in Denver, Colorado. 21-year-old Kelsie Schelling was a vibrant and bubbly person who others naturally gravitated towards. Her friend and co-worker Allie Cox said, "There was nothing quiet about Kelsie whatsoever. She was fun, she was great with people, really personable." But Kelsie had also struggled in the past with her mental health. After her parents divorced when she was a teenager, Kelsie found herself in the depths of despair, and she tried to end her own life. 2 years before she disappeared, she tried again. Kelsie called Allie and said, I need help. I need you to come home and I need help." Allie rushed her friend to the hospital after she admitted to taking too many pills. At the age of 21, Kelsie unexpectedly got pregnant. Her parents, Doug Schelling and Laura Saxton, were ready to rally around and support their daughter. On the day Kelsie disappeared, she had her first glimpse of her daughter-to-be on a sonogram. She was 8 weeks pregnant. On the night of February 4th, 2013, just after clocking out of work at 9:54 p.m., Kelsie disappeared. The investigators had to consider the possibility that she may have tried to take her own life because of her past struggles, but they quickly dismissed that thought after her family noted her strong love for her unborn baby. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation agent Kevin Torres said, "That is a hard avenue to explore, and just like millions of other Americans, I think she had some mental health issues, and she battled them and was winning that battle." Her mother, Laura, recalled the last conversation she had with her daughter. "I talked to her and told her I would support her any way I could. The whole family would support her and it was going to be okay." Kelsie's family and the investigators went to her apartment, where they found nothing out of the ordinary, which led them to believe she had likely met with foul play. Laura reached out to Kelsie's on-again, off-again boyfriend and the unborn baby's father, Dante Lucas, a former college basketball star. Kelsie and Dante met at Northeastern Junior College in 2010. They dated on and off while there, and after 2 years, they both decided to leave the school. He admitted to seeing Kelsie that night at around 2 or 3 a.m., but told Laura that she seemed fine when they parted ways. He promised to reach out to the family if Kelsie tried to contact him, and mentioned that she may have gone to California. Kelsie had moved out to California the year before and loved the sunny beaches and friends she made there, but she was forced to return to Colorado just 6 months later when she was unable to keep up with the high cost of living in the Golden State. The investigators looked into the possibility that Kelsie had jetted over to California for a visit, but they did not find any evidence to suggest that is where she had gone. As time went by, the investigators uncovered clues. Allie told the investigator that about 6 months before Kelsie's disappearance, Kelsie failed to show up for a shift at work. When her colleagues finally got in touch with her, she told them she could not come in because she had bruises on her neck and claimed that her father had strangled her. Kelsie's father, Doug, denied ever harming his daughter, and the detectives were ultimately able to confirm that he had been hours away at the time of the alleged incident, but that left them wondering who had actually caused the bruising. About a week after Kelsie vanished, the authorities got their first break in the case. Kelsie's car was spotted on surveillance video at around noon the day after she disappeared, driving into a Walmart parking lot in Pueblo, Colorado, a town about 2 hours south of Denver. It was the same town where Dante was living with his grandmother. An unidentified male was seen getting out of the car and walking around the building, where he was picked up by another vehicle. The next morning, the same man was seen getting back into Kelsie's car and driving away. 8 days after Kelsie's car drove out of the Walmart parking lot, it was later found sitting abandoned in a hospital parking lot. There was no evidence that Kelsie ever went inside the hospital. Again, surveillance footage showed an unidentified man driving the car into the lot. Laura, Kelsie's mom, said, "The day that her car was found, that was the day I knew that she was deceased, because I knew there was no way. She was very attached to her things, and I just knew that there was no way that she would abandon her car." The investigators also learned that the day after Kelsie disappeared, someone had used an ATM in Pueblo to withdraw $400 from Kelsie's bank account. When they looked at the surveillance footage captured at the ATM, they recognized a familiar face. Dante was the one who withdrew the money. He had also been driving her car at the time. The Pueblo police arrested him for identity theft and brought him in for questioning. His story about what happened the night Kelsie disappeared kept changing. While sometimes he told police he had met up with her at around 2 a.m., other times he placed it closer to midnight. He also told them that they stayed at the Walmart, went to his grandma's house, and in one account, that they went to a hospital and she lost the baby there. The conflicting stories were not enough, however, to arrest Dante for Kelsie's disappearance. And after investigators found evidence that Kelsie had often lent Dante her bank card and vehicle in the past, they were not able to hold him on the identity theft charges either, and he was released. Without any concrete evidence, years went by without any arrests in Kelsie's disappearance. Kelsie's brother, Kelsie Schelling, said of the family's anguish, "I think we were all lost, almost like your heart falls into the pit of your stomach, and you feel just so helpless." 4 years after Kelsie disappeared, the CBI decided to take a fresh look at the case. They considered different possibilities, but continued to come back to Dante. Kelsie loved Dante with all her heart, unconditionally, but Kelsie would often confide in her friends that Dante did not feel the same way about her, and he was very degrading to her. One friend had reported that Kelsie said Dante had gotten violent in the past, pushing her when he got upset. According to Agent Torres, the relationship between Kelsie and Dante met all the markers of a very tumultuous relationship with the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Dante's ex-girlfriend also told the investigators that he got anxious every time Kelsie's case came on the news and admitted being the man captured on the surveillance footage dropping her car off. A break in the case finally came when Agent Torres was finally able to secure a warrant for Dante's cell phone at the time, which revealed the final text messages between him and Kelsie. According to the text messages, Kelsie had driven to Pueblo the night she disappeared, arriving at the Walmart parking lot at 11:20 p.m. Dante told her that he would be over there shortly, but she waited for more than an hour for him to arrive. Kelsie eventually pulled onto a street near Dante's grandmother's home, and then sent one final text message at 12:32 p.m. that read, "Where are you? I have been here over an hour just waiting." That was the last text message. Agent Torres believes Dante finally arrived and ushered Kelsie into his grandmother's house. He believes a fight broke out about the baby, and that was when Dante took Kelsie's life. Laura said, "He's a monster. I mean, it is bad enough that he wanted to get rid of Kelsie, rather than just walking away from her, but that he wanted to end his child." The authorities finally had enough evidence to arrest Dante Lucas in the case, and he was charged in the first degree in 2017. Lucas went on trial 4 years later and was found guilty in March of 2021. Lucas was sentenced to life without parole and is currently serving out his sentence at the Lyman Correctional Facility in Lincoln County, Colorado. He appealed his conviction, but it was upheld by the Colorado Court of Appeals in 2024. Kelsie's body has never been found. Laura said, "I'm never going to recover without getting her back. I still have nowhere to go to take her flowers, to go sit and talk with her, take her balloons on her birthday, go to her on the holidays. I have nothing. Dante took that away from me." In 1998, a mother vanished without a trace with her young toddler while she was about 9 months pregnant with her third child. 23 years after their disappearance, the family finally has some answers about what happened to them. On September 11, 1998, 19-year-old Samantha Hopper, an almost mother of 3, came home from work in Russellville, Arkansas, and asked her mother if she could look after her daughters while she and a friend went to a concert in Little Rock, Arkansas. Her mom, Debbie, said she could only look after one of them, so she took the eldest, 3-year-old Desiree. Samantha said that she would take her 22-month-old daughter, Courtney Holt, to her father and told her mother that she would be back the following day. Samantha's friend later said that there was no concert, and the real story is that Samantha had a boyfriend in West Memphis that her mom did not approve of. After pregnant, Samantha dropped Desiree off at her mother's home she left in her blue 1989 Ford Tempo with Courtney. They were never heard from again. Samantha and Courtney were reported missing that same day. However, Samantha, her daughter, and her blue Ford Tempo were never located. 23 years later, a nonprofit group called Adventures with Purpose, whose members traveled the U.S. working on cold cases, started looking into the case of Samantha and her young daughter. Dive teams from the group split up to span multiple locations in the area of Lake Dardanelle, with the group taking a route along Mill Creek, sending divers into the Illinois Bayou near Pleasant View Road. A target was identified on sonar under the West Pleasant View Road Bridge on October 26, 2021, in 8 feet of water. The dive team found a blue Ford Tempo that matched Samantha's car. Her car did not have a license plate, as it was a new car when Samantha drove it that day in 1998. They also discovered human remains inside the car. Along with the human remains, a car seat was found in the back of the vehicle when it was hoisted out of the water, but it was not immediately obvious if her daughter's remains were also inside the car. The remains were sent to the Arkansas State Crime Lab in Little Rock for DNA testing in the hope of obtaining a positive identification using DNA from Debbie and Desiree. The family was at the scene when the car was brought up. Chaos Divers post read, "While it was gut-wrenching to have to see the tears stream down their faces as they were told the news, it was also incredibly heartwarming to see the smiles on their faces and the weight released from their shoulders, knowing they were potentially bringing their loved ones home." The Pope County Sheriff's Office said in a statement that they would like to send their sincere condolences to the family of Samantha Hopper and Courtney Holt, and they are thankful to have been a small part of helping bring this 23-year-old case to closure. Samantha's daughter, Desiree, wrote on a memorial page that the discovery of their remains was a relief. The vehicle had ended up in the water after going over a bridge. In a statement, Adventures with Purpose added, "Samantha and her 2 babies have now been brought home." Advances in DNA technology and genealogy helped solve the case of an unknown teenage hitchhiker 60 years after he lost his life. On March 27, 1961, a blue-eyed hitchhiker with olive skin was picked up by a driver. The driver of the car crashed through the rail of a bridge and plunged into the Cahaba River in Bibb County, Alabama. Sadly, the young hitchhiker did not survive the crash, but the driver of the car did. The driver shared a few details about the boy. However, it was not enough to identify him. The 2 travelers had not even exchanged names before the crash happened. All that was known of the boy was that his parents had divorced when he was young, and life with his mom and stepfather was difficult. He had been hitchhiking through Alabama, possibly en route to California. The boy's remains were recovered from the river, but the authorities did not know who he was or if anyone was looking for him. The young man, who stood at about 5 feet 6 inches, had few identifying characteristics. He had light brown hair, blue eyes, and a self-inked tattoo on his left arm that appeared to read "RY in love" or R+Y in love. He had a miraculous medal of the Immaculate Conception tied around his neck with cotton twine. He wore a Timex watch, and along with a suitcase full of clothes, carried a pack of Pall Mall cigarettes with a South Carolina tax stamp on it, indicating he may have traveled some distance to end up in Alabama. About 2 weeks after the crash, after all the effort to identify the boy has been exhausted, he was buried at the Centerville Memorial Cemetery in Bibb County under a white marble headstone that read, "Unknown in life but recognized in demise." Funds for his burial was raised by the community. For years, sleuths kept on the trail. An independent agency called Identifinders International discovered that the boy had likely hitched rides with at least 3 drivers during the fateful journey. Some believed he had been put up by relatives in South Carolina and Montevallo, Alabama, where he attempted to find work. Others speculated he intended to enlist in the military, or may have been a wayward prison inmate. The case went cold for 55 years before Bibb County officials were contacted, in 2016, by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The organization informed them that funds had been allocated to exhume the body in hopes that modern genetic testing might finally solve the mystery. His remains were then taken to the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences in Montgomery, where they obtained bone fragments and teeth and sent them off for DNA profiling at the University of North Texas. Researchers built a mitochondrial DNA profile and uploaded it into the combined DNA index system, but no matches to missing persons were made. The case again went dormant. For nearly 4 more years, no leads were uncovered until independent detective Colleen Fitzpatrick, an investigator with Identifinders International, contacted the newly elected Coroner West in October 2020. Fitzpatrick said that her group was determined to close the book on what they have declared is the oldest case of a missing child to ever be solved with DNA forensics. The money to embark on the inquiry had been raised predominantly by viewers of a YouTube channel, Gray Hughes Investigates, who had set up a forensic genealogy fund for use by Identifinders. West said, "They did extensive work there to extract DNA. They had a lot of complications, but they did not give up. They agreed on a new approach to DNA analysis where parts of the body were sent to another lab in California, where finally they learned who he was. 15-year-old Daniel Paul Danny Armantrout, who was born on December 28, 1945 in Miami. Then began the work of tracking down any family of Danny. His parents were identified as Alfred Valentine Armantrout and Virginia Leo Katie Berner. In 2021, a brother named Don Hamilton, who was 77 and lives in Florida, was tracked down. He had been in the Army when Danny ran away and was not able to track down his younger brother when he returned home. Their eldest brother, David, had also run away. According to Don, they grew up in a severely abusive household. Their alcoholic stepfather whipped their bare backs with a belt and burned their fingers with matches. The brothers went weekends at a time without food. Their mother told them she wished they had never been born. Don escaped as soon as he could, joining the Army at age 17. Despite his childhood, Don made a good life for himself. He had a 30-year career in the Army, retiring in 1989 as a sergeant major. He met his wife while stationed in Germany, fell in love, and has been married for more than 40 years. He has 2 daughters and 8 grandchildren. As a high school dropout, he earned an associate's degree in business management in the 1990s and was a nutrition coordinator for many years. But not a day has gone by that he did not wonder what had become of his 2 brothers. David remains missing to surviving family. He was 2 years older than Don. Danny's father passed away in 1973. His mother passed away in 2011. Don was very emotional to learn the truth about Danny. He wants to come up and have a memorial service and meet some of the people who worked behind the scenes to locate his brother. The last time he saw Danny was when he was home from military service for a couple of weeks during Christmas break in 1960, shortly before Danny ran away. The 2 brothers went into the mountains by their rural home in Tennessee to go squirrel shooting, which was one of their favorite and only activities as they were very poor. There was no TV or phone and few other kids around. Danny did not say anything to him about running away, but he knew Danny made the same calculation their older brother had already made. They could stick around and take the abuse or try life on their own. Don said, "It was not much of a choice." Identifinders International hopes to locate his still missing eldest brother. Danny's anonymous grave will be amended to include his full name. Don said, "I am sad because I will never get to see my brother alive. My heart feels good. I am going to be able to bless his grave site." Coroner West said, "It is really amazing. I cannot express enough how grateful I am, as well as many others, to finally be able to put his name on his headstone. Thank you all for the ones that never gave up on him." A man responsible for kidnapping a woman and using her as a slave has finally been convicted 25 years after the crime took place, thanks to DNA linking him to the case. On June 8, 1996, a young woman named Michelle Shepard was kidnapped and indecently assaulted by a man in Wilmington, North Carolina. After the attack, she went to the hospital and then the police station. Unfortunately, no arrests were made and the case eventually went cold. Michelle, a mother of 2, had to wait 26 years before she received the justice she deserved for the horrible act that was committed against her. During the COVID pandemic, the Wilmington Police Department came across a long-neglected assault kit. Attached was paperwork identifying Timothy Iannone as a suspect that had never been digitized and put online. For years, There had been no funding to test backlogged kits, but a 2019 initiative by North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein provided $6 million across the state. District Attorney Ben David said that funding made it possible for the Wilmington Police Department to test the kit. WPD assigned a detective, located Michelle, living in Raleigh, and eventually made an arrest in November 2021. The case was anything but easy. After 26 years, evidence, everything from recollections to DNA, had deteriorated. In fact, District Attorney David said that it was the first time this particular type of DNA evidence, based on the Y chromosome, had been used in New Hanover Court, and Iannoni's defense, led by public defender Trip Watson, a former prosecutor and Superior Court judge, was afforded considerable resources. They hired investigators, worked non-stop for 2 weeks, and, in David's estimation, made this a heavyweight fight. Iannoni was charged with first-degree assault and kidnapping after being apprehended by the U.S. Marshals Carolinas Regional Fugitive Task Force. Iannoni, a former Port City cab driver, was also a prime suspect in 2 other cases that the WPD has been working on for more than a decade. The cases of Allison Jackson Foy and Angela Rothen. The bodies of Allison and Angela were found in some woods off Carolina Beach Road in April 2008. To date, no arrests have been made in either of these 2 cases, as there has not been enough evidence to charge Iannoni. On December 9, 2022, 3 weeks into the trial, District Attorney Ben David brought forth 2 forensic scientists to link Iannoni to Michelle's case. The jury deliberated a little over an hour before returning its verdict. At the trial, Michelle spoke publicly about the pain she suffered at the hands of Iannoni. She hopes his sentencing will be enough to help those too scared to come forward to do just that. She said, "I just want everybody to see that even after 26 years, it is so important that you stand up for yourself and for you to speak out for yourself, because they, the district attorney and police, will not quit helping you find your justice. They are not going to quit. So you cannot quit. You got to be brave and stand up. Even though you are terrorized and you are fearful, it is so important for yourself and for your community to just be brave." She also said, "Timothy Iannoni may have left me alive and breathing that day, but he took my life just the same." Iannoni has been found guilty of his crimes against Michelle, and he was sentenced on December 13, 2022 to 433 months for the indecent assault and 151 months for kidnapping to be served consecutively, totaling 48.6 years. A sentence that likely will be for the rest of Iannoni's life, as he was already 61 years old at the time of his sentencing. Allison Foy's daughter, Courtney Jackson Hicks, attended Iannoni's sentencing in support of the victim. She said, "Listening to the testimony, there are a lot of similarities that I have noticed, and it took the victim 26 years to get the justice that she has very much deserved. And we have been waiting 16 years for ours. And I really hope that if anybody has any information, that I encourage them to come forward, because we would like our own day in court as well. And this definitely gives me some hope in that. Anyone with information regarding the Allison Foy or Angela Rothen cases should contact the Wilmington Police Department at 91034333620.